Hi everyone, my name is Amelia. I'm from the Brand Experience team and welcome to another episode of Money Wisdom Podcast and this special mini-series titled Milestone by Decade, where we will get our very own client advisors to dive into the advice they would give themselves a decade ago. So today I'm very glad to be joined by Eleanor, one of Providend's founding members, and also she's in her 60s and she definitely doesn't look it as well. And she's going to talk about her life experience in her 50s, and I'm sure it'll be very useful for those who are 50s or even younger. So, Eleanor, very happy to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you want to share a little bit more about yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Eleanor, one of the founding member of the Providence team. I am working in the capacity of an associate director, advisory. I'm 61 this year. I am married, blessed with 2 children. Joshua, he's age 33, and Kaylee is 28. They're both happily married. And I've got 2 grandsons. Oliver is age 4, and David is 16 months. Family is the center of my life, and so is the work that I do. At this phase of my life, I'm happiest because I have the freedom to spend time and have slow dinners with my family and my friends, to laugh with my grandchildren, and I'm doing the kind of work that I find meaningful.
Thanks for sharing, Eleanor. That's very meaningful. And so, looking back at your 50s, right, how do you think your mindset has shifted and evolved, like in terms of like life, career, between your 50s to 60s?
Well, in my 50s, success is more about achieving a certain goal, hitting a certain targeted net worth, or it's about checking the boxes. But in my 60s, success feels very differently. Success is having full control of my time, spending time with people I love, having slow dinners with them, being involved in church community, and importantly is being able to choose the clients to work with where I can make an impact to their financial life. Money now feels less like hitting a certain scoreboard. It is more like protecting the things that I valued. And these are my health, my family, my relationship, and my experiences. Just giving example of a simple and yet important experience, I've engaged a personal trainer.
Wow.
And this personal trainer is to help me to build core strength. Now, if I want to age well and be strong and to be able to do the things, play games and be, on all fours with my grandchildren, I need to age gracefully. I need to have the strength to take good care of myself.
Yeah, it's very important, especially when you're aging, right, to have muscle to carry your grandchildren.
Definitely.
And I noticed that when you go on all those company activities, you're always one of the most active, always in front and ahead, sometimes more energetic than maybe those in their 20s.
Thank you
so
for
I
sharing
applaud
that.
you for that. Yeah, so I think that is a really cool thing. I did not expect the gym instructor thing. So thank you for sharing. And I think it will inspire a lot of people. And you don't have to start in your 60s, right? You can start even earlier. Even if it's not like a personal trainer, it can be just taking time to go for walks after meals and do some healthy small habits, and I think it will compound over time.
It is true.
Yeah.
And in my 50s, I would actually think that to be an indulgence, but in my 60s, things are different. I feel that I should be putting the money where it is actually important to me. In Providend, we talk about the philosophy of sufficiency, and this is the part about knowing what is important and directing the resources to support the things that's important to you.
Okay, thank you for sharing. So, someone in their 50s, I suppose they would be looking ahead towards retirement, right? So for someone in the 60s, for yourself, what kind of career advice would you give someone who is in their 50s?
Well, the advice that I gave to my daughter when she was younger, I think it still holds true very much for the people in their 50s today, right? So my daughter says that she doesn't know what she like or what she loves. And I told her that it is perfectly fine not to know what you love, but do take note of the things that you don't love. And what is important is to continue to explore, keep the options open, right? So in your 50s, you actually probably have got amassed enough skill, enough network to be able to do things that gives you the satisfaction of the job. It may not be financially rewarding, but having said that, on a practical perspective, do take note of the lifestyle costs to keep that from going up, because if you are able to save and invest prudently, you are able to then build towards a certain amount of liquidity, and that would actually gives you more options later. This is what we call about having freedom.
Options, right?
Options.
Because options means even if there's option 1 and 2, and option 1 costs less, but you can still choose option 2 if you want. But if you have no wealth by the time you retire, there's only one option in that sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because the lack of money or the lack of financial resources, your options are pretty limiting lah. So having said that, we talk about your question is actually pertaining to retirement. When it actually comes to retirement, it is very important to also know what are things that you can control. We cannot control what we cannot control, right?
Yes.
So we want to control the things that we can control. So transitioning to retirement, the things that we control will be having a goal to know, or having a vision to know what you are retiring into.
A vision,
right?
okay.
A vision. Okay, it starts with a vision. So envisage what the retirement looks like. Okay, what do you see yourself to be doing? All right, and what do you see yourself enjoying doing more? Right, so that's actually having vision. And if you're married, is to collaborate with your partners, because the worst is that, your partner says, hey, I want to stay at home, and you're the one who says, I want to, go out there, chong, that kind of thing. Right? And also having a purpose. It's important to have a purpose. It is actually something that makes you wake up for in the morning. So it need not be those big purpose whereby you say that I want to change the world kind of purposes. It could be very small, mundane thing, like having, pursuing a certain hobbies, volunteerism, being involved in the church community, for example. Little things, get it done. And it is also possible that you may not have the visibility to say that this purpose will last me for the next 10, 20 years. It is possible that, you could have something that you can feel gainfully engaged for the next 3 months, and then you just move on, because life is about changes after all. And when you retire, changes will continue.
Yeah, and there's no guilt in changing a purpose, right? Because
it is not.
Life is ever evolving. It's like one day I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to maybe work in a certain environment or industry.
Yes.
And then maybe 1 year later, I change.
Yes.
But I think some people, they'll feel like they wasted that 1 year, which is actually not true, right?
Not true at all, because sometimes you do certain things and one thing lead to another. Right, so that's actually very important. As I said, is to continue exploring and to keep the options open, and be open to try new things, even little things. Just try. Yeah. So for myself, it's like when people invite me, I'll say yes. Even though I don't feel like it, yes, I go there first, and then I see what are things I want to enjoy myself.
Are you naturally extrovert?
Well, it depends. Okay, based on emergenetics, I'm actually sort of in between.
Okay.
In between is like neither here nor there. Okay, that doesn't sound very positive. But
you can like tweak yourself to the situation, basically.
Well, I mean, if I see that the general environment is a very, very quiet, and this is where I stand up and take on the leadership lah. But if I find that there are people who are there and they can, they speak, and then the overall environment is that, people are engaged, then this is where I'm very happy to just sit back and just observe and just enjoy the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our popular Retire Well ebook has been updated. Retire Well is a methodology that Providend has developed to design a retirement income plan that will provide you with a safe and reliable stream of income for the rest of your life. Check out the link in the show notes below to download a complimentary copy of the full ebook today. Thank you, and let's get back to the episode. So with all this talk about like planning for retirement, right?
Yeah.
If we just zoom in, because money is still important.
Yes.
So if you look back in your 50s, what is that one money decision you wish you could tell yourself again? Or like what you felt that you did correct and you were happy with? Money decision.
Okay. Well, I grew up in a family whereby cash flow is actually very tight. My dad is a businessman, and back then, business loan comes with a sky-high interest rate.
Okay. This is like 20, 30 years ago.
Around there. Yeah. So I grew up with this mindset whereby, we talk about, money is actually not enough. So I have got this mindset whereby I'm very careful with money, very careful, and I am forever like looking at alternative saving and just living with a lifestyle that's actually very, very prudent. And that is the mindset that I grew up with, all right? And I carry that throughout, from the way I run my life and the way I manage my household as well, all right? So giving example of incident, it's a real example. My son came to me to say that, Mom, I want to have an iPhone, all right? But I've only budgeted for a Nokia phone. And I said that, well, you have to find ways of making the difference. And he did. What he did was that he went to find money.
Wow.
And
so he went to work part-time?
He went to work.
Wow.
And I was fortunate in the sense that both my children, from young, they are able to make extra income out from their hobbies.
Very resourceful.
Very resourceful.
Yeah.
So for that, I'm actually very, very glad. So what he did was that he made the difference. And then because he has a skin in the game, so you bet that he took very good care of his iPhone.
Wow. So it's
right?
like multifaceted benefits. Not
Yes.
just he got the phone, he also
Yes.
took care of it. It taught him responsibility as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is the kind of value that I want to instill in my children, because I want to have them to be resilient kids, to be independent. I don't want them to have this sense of entitlement. So if I would have given him the iPhone, he probably wouldn't be taking care of it as much as now, because he has a skin in the game.
Yeah, correct. So, okay, that's for talking about money, right? So, back when you were in your 50s, was there even this concept of work-life balance? Or like when you first started your career, if you want to talk about when you were even younger, is there even a concept? Because now a lot of young people, they're like, I want to work-life balance, I want to work remotely and all that. So can you share a bit about how it was like for you?
Well, I'm born in the baby boomers generation, and back then it's like we don't talk about work-life balance. And I'm very much a doer, all right? So when there's actually work to be done, I just get it done. But I'm fortunate in the sense that my children, they are quite independent. And of course, I'm quite blessed because my husband is actually a real handyman. So you can imagine work at home is very much a teamwork. They team and I work.
Okay, so you
we
fix stuff
get
at
on
home.
fine.
Okay.
We get on fine.
Wow, so handyman. Because usually most,
Yes.
I would think like Australian, those like in Europe, they are more handy, right? So your husband's actually handy, which is great.
Yes. In other country, you probably has to pay for all these services,
Correct.
So if let's say there is a water pipe that get choked, you have to get someone in. So my husband is the one he will figure out. He may not be mechanically trained, but he will just figure out how the things work. And because he's actually an engineer by training,
I see.
he get things resolved. He will go to Sunai Road, or you go to hardware shop to just buy whatever necessary, and he will just figure out how to do it. So he manages all these small repairs at home. And for that, I'm actually thankful. In fact, I did tell him to say that, this is something good to teach the children, because in due time, they're going to have families of their own. And I also want them to be involved in all this handiwork. It is very, very practical.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I find that you not only save money, but sometimes you can actually make it fun, right? Like to fix stuff with your children. And I guess he also has interest lah. So I think it brings the importance of having a good spouse through the journey of the different decades, regardless of how old we are.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It is a partnership. And to add on, the real key is when it comes to managing adults' kids is to keep the communications open, so that you know what's going on in their lives. And what we wanted is to be able to be supportive as the parents, but we don't want to impede on their choices in terms of their career choices. If there is one thing that I could have actually done differently, is that I wish I had spent more time in creating experiences. This could be small thing like going in a weekend getaway, or just a little picnic, for example, because they grow up so fast. And what is important, I feel that it is really making memories, because I want them to remember all this time that we spent together, when they are growing up.
This leads me very naturally into the next question. So was there one regret or mistake or something you wish you have done differently in your 50s?
Well, if I could just change one thing, what I'll do is that I want to make time in creating experiences. In a book that's written by Bill Perkins, he says that money that's actually left unspent in the end is essentially life experiences that is not lived.
Okay.
Right? So that to me is, it is like a wake-up call, because I don't want my children to just remember me as a mom who provided well. I want to be the cool mom, the cool grandma, where they remember that we go for road trips together, we do crazy stuff, we eat ice cream in the winter. Those things, these are things I want the children to remember. And it is precisely those things that eventually when they get married, will bring them home, because home is a space whereby they know that cool mom is there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel that even for the audience out there who have passed a certain stage where their children are grown up, right? It's okay to have regrets, but it's never too late to start now, right?
It is true.
Yeah.
It is true. But there are certain things whereby, when you want to do certain things, it has to be done then.
Yes, correct.
Like for example, if I want to bring my children to Disney World, I want to bring them when they're actually in their lower primaries or even like upper primaries.
Different when they're
if I bring them when they're 30s, it's like, Mom,
They will still have fun, but it's very different.
It is very different. Very different. So they are probably right now busy with their lives and all that, you see. So time and experiences is actually a currency whereby you cannot wind back.
Yeah.
Whatever is gone is gone. So my advice to you is that, if there are things that you want to do, sometimes it need not be the big thing. It's just a little bit of things, is spending time with the children and create that moment.
I think
and make
that's
that moment
really
memorable.
a very heartwarming advice. Yeah. So parents out there right now, go and spend time with your young children before it's too late. Yeah. So if there was, last question, if there's one thing that you would tell yourself in your 50s, like that one thing, what would it be?
It is checking the story that you tell yourself. Sometimes we have got voices in our head. And one of this that I can actually think of is that, the voice in my head is that I don't have green thumb.
Oh,
And then for the longest time, I didn't try to plant anything because I thought that, they would just die on me. But lo and behold, during the COVID, I bought myself a snake plant, and the snake plant actually thrives.
Wow.
Right. So now I'm actually a proud parent of many house plants. And it just brings me so much joy when I see green shoots. Right. That is my ikigai.
Yeah. Like, so you go home, you see a green shoot, then you smile. So it like brings joy to your life. So life can be so simple, right?
It is. And then we do the same thing with our retirement. Sometimes the story we tell ourselves is that we have enough. I can always downgrade. I can always sell my house, and then I've got property. I've got money. But retirement is actually really more complex than that. Money is not the goal. Money is the tool.
Yep.
All right. So build for yourselves a financial base, and with that, you can then set for yourself a purpose for you to retire with, that you can be happy about. So that to me is success.
Yeah, it's really life decisions before financial decisions.
It is always.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. And with that, I'm really sad to say that we've come to the last episode of this mini-series, Milestone by Decade. So if you really enjoyed this mini-series, do let us know by dropping a comment or email us. And maybe we'll continue next year. So, and with that, thank you very much for watching this podcast. And if you like this podcast, please share, follow, and share it with all your friends, and comment, like, subscribe, and all the works in your favorite podcast platform or YouTube. And we'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye. Bye. All analysis, views, or opinions from interviews, recommendations, and other information broadcasted, podcasted, or published herein are provided for general information purposes only. Information expressed does not take into account any specific situation, particular needs, or objectives, and should not be construed as specific advice or a recommendation. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal or tax professional before taking any action. Providend Limited does not accept any liability for any loss whatsoever arising from any use of the information broadcasted, podcasted, or published herein. All contents and information contained herein may not be copied or reproduced in whole or in part by any means without prior consent of Providend Limited.